Cool. And we're live. Hey, what's up, guys? It is Jordan Anderson here, and welcome to tonight's episode. Tonight, we have a special guest, and we're going to change it up just a little bit. We're going to do a little interview style, and tonight we are talking about the Clubhouse app, the app you've all been hearing about, the app you don't just yet have an invite to, but you soon will have an invite to, I promise. We're going to talk all things, not so much how to sign up or the basics or kind of like, this simple how to create an account and get a profile picture going and all the very simple stuff. We're not going to do that kind of walkthrough. Tonight we're going to talk about more of the philosophy, the soft tactic, the soft skills to go onto the Clubhouse. But we're also going to talk about some of the a little bit more nuanced, a little bit deeper skills that you're going to need on the Clubhouse app. And we have our special guest. Let me switch over to, name is Chris G. He's a friend of the show. Say hello, Chris. You're on camera now.
Hey, Jordan. Hey, stream.
Cool.
Really excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, dude. Okay, so Clubhouse. Let's talk about Clubhouse. I am a late adopter. You are an early adopter. That's why I wanted to have you on the show for sure. And yeah, maybe we just start very broadly, like Clubhouse, or start with like kind of your journey to Clubhouse, because I think what you have to say, and I think the journey you've already had on Clubhouse is super important and it has a lot to say. So let's unpack it. Clubhouse.
Yeah.
First thoughts.
It's funny. I don't know how early of an adopter I was because I think I did download it first last month in February. I think if you got it, did I send you an invite code?
Yeah, no, I don't think.
Or
No, I got it from somebody
I
else.
forget. Okay, gotcha. Well, yeah, it's weird because when it started taking off, it took me a while to want to get onto this new social media platform, and I was just kind of I don't know. I was like, I skipped TikTok. I'm not on TikTok. And then Clubhouse, I decided to go on just for no real reason. And I wanted to see what it's all about. And really, it's a voice platform. So it's a social voice platform where you have live, let's call it conversations with people in different chat rooms. So like we're going back to early 2000s AIM, but rather than it being text or chat like chatting through like text and or video based, it's just from audio.
Mm-hmm.
And there's two approaches that people could take. They could make it more conversational and just doing like hangouts where like there's smaller rooms where it's not really geared to garner a huge audience, or you could go the influencer route where there's like 3 or 4 people panel style and people have it on in the background like they would a radio show or a podcast.
Yeah, it seems like, I mean,
Those are the 2
the obvious
ways.
replacement is like the conference or the seminar that we can't go to anymore. So it's like you can go to any conference, any seminar, any webinar that you want to in the world. It's all on Clubhouse, and you just kind of choose your niche, choose whatever genre, choose whatever kind of fan favorite you can find on the app.
Yeah, it's really cool because you could sit in the audience and then raise your hand figuratively. There's like a button, like a notification button you tap and request to join the conversation. And you could get called onto stage and participate in a conversation, ask a question. So a lot of bigger people have adopted it. Like Paris Hilton got on board to promote her movie. Um, Gary Vaynerchuk, every social media
Mm-hmm.
influencer that you could imagine that wants to be ahead of the marketing curve or whatever has their rooms, like Grant Cardone and all those guys.
Yep.
But the more interesting rooms are the ones with like real people in it, where you could have like actual conversations with people around the world. And those have been the most like fruitful, like on an emotional level with me because I wouldn't call myself an expert networker. I think I'm okay, like one on one. Like I'm a good conversationalist, but I don't like the idea of going to a networking event and talking about myself. That freaks me out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I've learned since joining Clubhouse just some social skills, like maybe not too much to be profound to anyone else, but I at least figured out how to introduce myself quickly so that it's not like this drawn out thing or whatever. It's like it's like doing a million networking events in a really condensed amount of time because you're at your house, you're not at a networking event, which is like a rare occurrence, and you join room to room to room and constantly introduce yourself. And so it goes from long to shorter to shorter to shorter, and then you could just do it in one sentence. Um, and so like that's your if that's your elevator pitch, or like if you're a photographer, or videographer, something like that, you could just be like, oh yeah, I solve business problems with the camera, something like that,
Mhm.
or uh, and you could just really condense your statement quickly. And for me, it's improved my social skills in the bit that I could carry conversations with strangers that I don't know of yet. So like I don't know where we like match up in terms of like, okay, what are you into? What am I into? Why are we both here? Like, hey, how do you know Dave, the host of the party?
Mhm.
Like it's good for like small talk, working on those skills. And then once you overcome like that little like you want to jump into a conversation, then it gets really valuable.
I remember joining one chat room that you invited me to, and like you put me on, and I think I was cooking dinner at one point, but like my heart was racing to like just get on, or
Yeah.
like I can imagine that's someone who has no idea how to do this or has no exposure to this kind of activity would be the same as me, just like heart racing. You're rambling, you're talking too much, I was like, do I ask a question? Do I say something to try to sound smart? That I think that's and maybe we could talk about that too. Like the pushbacks of Clubhouse are that it's about just how cool can you look on this app, or how braggadocious or how much can you brag about yourself, or like that's the cynical view, I think, and it's really not. It's really like you've had a lot of organic personal relationships grow from this. Um, but I think that's what everyone on the surface thinks about. That it's just this kind of, hey, look at me. Here's my resume. Here's what I can do. And buy my stuff. Go to www.com. Here, this is where I'm selling that stuff.
I could I could compare that to like the cold ads on LinkedIn where people add you and then DM you a sales
Yep.
pitch. So like some people are just tone deaf to how to behave in a social setting, and they try to pitch like man, it goes from the hosts to the participants. Sometimes people will go on and just try to pitch, and I think the platforms just become more socially aware to not like I don't know condone that, and people are starting to learn. But there's times where people are like, "Oh, yeah, I like this good app." Uh, they'll come up on stage, they're just a guest, they're not, like, hosting the room.
Hmm.
They'll talk about, "Yeah, I like using this web scraper app," or something like that, and then at the end, they're like, "By the way, I have an affiliate code, it's in my
Oh
bio,
my
if you
gosh.
want to do it, check it out," and you're just like, "Ah, come on, man, like,
It was
really?
so good up to this point.
Now we can't trust you." And the worst though is when you join a room and the hosts are great. They're all great. And then somebody will come up with some sort of real problem. Like I joined some sort of marketing room, and I don't join other people big rooms anymore because of this, um where I can't be part of the conversation and just have like normal conversation with people. Cause like what happens in those bigger rooms, it switches from conversational to, okay, I'm a presenter now. I'm on stage. I have to
Yep.
perform. And I don't like, unless you're somebody of interest that I follow, like let's say like a Chris Doe from the future, or Blair Enns, or someone that I really respect.
Hmm.
I'm not going to go into somebody's random large room and listen to them speak. I really don't care. I have a queue of podcasts of thought leaders that I respect that I'm going to do that. And so if I'm going to use Clubhouse, I care about being part of the conversation, or at least feeling like I can join in if I have something important to say
Hmm.
or a question to ask. So the thing that I don't like that I see large Clubhouse people do in like, let's say rooms with, if a small room is 15 people and under, um, a big room is about 800 people, 500 people, or
Whoa.
100 people, like 100 plus, let's
How do you
say.
even manage that? Yeah.
Yeah, because there's some people, well, because those are more like presentation
Okay,
style
just like
and
one big
they're
celebrity, thousands of Twitter followers, and they just said, "Hey, I'm gonna be live here.
exactly,
Join now."
exactly.
Okay.
100%, yeah. So, like, when Paris Hilton was on, like, it's her and, there might be 3 or 4 mods on stage, and they call up people one by one and letting them ask their question. But I was in one of these rooms with, like, let's say 200 or 300 people, and some of the panelists I know, because at this point, like, when you spend a lot of time on the app, you kind of, like, see the same faces and you follow each other and they join your rooms and stuff like that. Um, and somebody went up to ask a question about, "Hey, how do I get my friend into creating video content and marketing and stuff?" And on the panel, there were a few like video marketer guys on there,
Mhm.
and they started out saying like, great points, like, "Oh, like this, and this," but then they went like, if you check out my website, there's a free PDF guide to see if like blah 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 blah. And I'm just like, bro. It's weird because these guys are like, I would assume relatively respected on the platform and stuff. Like at least they were competent when I've had conversations with them.
Mhm.
And it's just weird to me. Like I'm so against the idea of people are so aware of when they're being sold something, even if it's a free PDF download. People that are hip to Clubhouse understand what you're doing with your lead magnet. You know what I mean? It just feels like a little weird to to sell anything, there, because here's the thing,
Yep.
you don't need to sell anything because the people that like and respect you will follow you on social media. They 100% will. When I was holding, like, rooms of, like, consistently 20 people, I'd get, I don't know, 20 or 40 followers every day that I did a Clubhouse room, and I would get about, like, I don't know, 7 to 10 followers on Instagram just from that. And, the Instagram I used to have linked was my personal one. I since did a business one that is just for DMs and, like,
Mhm.
hey, it's we'll get into that in a second, but, about the messaging system on Clubhouse. But basically, I made a separate business Instagram account just to accept DMs from the platform. I guess to fill everybody
Yeah.
in, Clubhouse does not have a messaging system. You have to go off platform, and they allow you to link
Mhm.
out to your Instagram, and so that's where people DM you if they want to chat or something. And it's just like, so yeah.
Sweet. All right, let's help the people out tonight. So if they are like the first time that they're on Clubhouse, or maybe they just got their invite this week and they want to kind of get a little crazy this weekend. The agenda we're going to try to cover. We don't have to. I figured I told Chris folks that this is just like us kind of these are conversational chapters more or less. So let's start with the first one. What is Clubhouse? What is Clubhouse good for? Clubhouse and its uses. We kind of already talked about it a little bit that it's kind of about networking a little bit. It's kind of like a giant, put it simply, it's like a giant conference call. And if I'm just starting out, do I go to these big rooms first, or do I make my own room? Do I try to find a small room? Like what's kind of like the first hour on the app? Where am I going? What am I doing?
Um, they constantly have rooms on, like, Clubhouse etiquette, so I would just join one of those, and if for some reason you don't want to, because it sounds like a tutorial to the beginning of a video game, and you just wanna skip that and
Hmm.
just pop right in, I would just join any room that interests you and just sit in the audience, and you'll get the rundown within 3 or 4 minutes. And then I'd say every 15 minutes after that, you'll kind of like get some new nugget of like, oh, okay, this is what it's doing. Like when you mute and unmute yourself over and over again, like that's a way to show that you're clapping. It's not like a glitch in your audio or anything like that. It's just like
Oh,
little etiquettes that you pick up. Isn't that cool?
I didn't
Like
know that.
so like literally you unmute and mute yourself, and that's a clapping emoji essentially because there's no way to communicate that. There's a couple, yeah, so when you're first on Clubhouse, I would like what I would do is I would go into the search bar. The user interface is terrible. It's like really difficult to find things that you might be interested in. That's why I think Twitter or Facebook might, like, make a Clubhouse competitor and make, like, Instagram stories the way that kind of ended Snapchat,
Mhm.
like, because Clubhouse is more like a feature like Snapchat was than an actual, I don't know, engine. Um,
There's definitely the
the
potential for
first
that,
thing I
yeah.
would do is join these rooms.
So let
Yeah, yeah, for
yeah,
sure. Twitter's already doing it.
yeah. So let's say I'm a photographer and I wanna join some kind of photography chat room. Do I go to the search bar and just start typing in photography, and it usually shows up, typically shows up?
Yeah.
It's that easy.
So there's a couple. Right, yeah, if you go into the search box, you're gonna write photography, like, you could be more specific, like, wedding photography, let's say. You could find multiple people that probably have that show up, just like Instagram. Actually, no, Facebook. Facebook would be a good
Mhm.
example. So, like, when you go in the search bar of Facebook, you could type in wedding photography. You might find people to like and follow, and you could also find groups to like and follow.
Okay.
Those groups on Clubhouse are called clubs. You follow them, and some of them will send you invites to join the club, but that's just weird. I don't even know how to get into that. It's nothing really. It's not even a big deal. You follow these clubs, you become a member of these clubs,
Mhm.
and then you start on your feed. You start getting recommendations for rooms that are currently live. So, like, your feed is essentially an infinite scroll of things that rooms that people you follow are in, um, rooms or clubs that you follow, rooms that are going on in those clubs. And so when you join a club, like, let's just call it wedding photo, like, um, I don't know, wedding photographers.
Yep.
Let's call it. That's probably the name of a room. When you follow that on your feed, whenever you could, you'll see rooms whenever they go live. A room is basically, I guess, I mean, that's the like, how do you describe that? I just don't even know how to define that. A room is like the chat room,
Yeah.
right? There's chat rooms within the club. There we go. That's the way to say it.
Okay.
And you would just join those chat rooms and you would network with other photographers. Now, if you're a smart photographer, like your audience probably is from watching your content, you're going to recognize, okay, I don't really gain anything from matching with other photographers. Maybe I do because it's a good community and learn how they price, learn what gear they're using, all that stuff.
Mhm.
But I want to go where the wedding planners go. So then you go into the search bar and you type in wedding planners and you join those rooms. And then then you type in like DJs or
Yeah,
I don't
wedding
know,
industry.
how to, right, things like
Yeah,
that. Anything that's
you
like key to that industry.
yep.
You join. So for example, like a personal example for me, um, I joined a few rooms because I do content marketing and I'm interested in helping out like financial institutions. I joined a few um, mortgage company clubs that are like marketing for mortgage companies, right? So that's not videographers like networking, that's
Yeah.
mortgage people networking. So I'm in the room with these mortgage people that are, how do I network and differentiate in the marketplace? I can provide insight to those people, and that's how you get connections on Clubhouse. That's how you build respect when you could help people that you have the answers that you could provide the answers to.
Yeah, I love that. That lights up my brain because I I feel like peer to peer people within the same business or industry. I feel like, you know, you and I are both filmmakers, and when you talk to another filmmaker and you have nothing to say or you just kind of feel awkward, you just talk about gear. You just talk about what do you shoot on or like what camera are you using. Like there's nothing of substance or so yeah, so if you were in that clubhouse with a bunch of fintech guys or a bunch of mortgage brokers. Like they're just talking to other mortgage brokers all day long. Hey, what do you do? What is your clients like? And then you come in like this special duck. You're like, oh, whoa, you're a filmmaker. You're a content creator. You do content marketing. Like that's
Yeah.
wow. Okay, yeah, that's different. Like, what does that do? What do you have to do for that? And then I love that. That's an awesome strategy.
Find the rooms where you could participate in where just your presence makes their day better because they don't
Mm-hmm.
see you every day. They don't see a person like you every day. And it's just really cool because like the idea of if you go into like a wedding planning room that's specifically for brides on the East Coast, I don't know if the clubhouse is that big where they'll have something so niche. If not, you could create that
Yeah.
club. But I'm sure there's wedding planning clubs that have mostly brides in it, and they're just like, ah, how do I, make affordable weddings and
Yeah, like
things like
Q&A,
that.
yeah, just like and yeah, you come in as the photographer
Yeah,
just answering those questions for them or like I'm
exactly.
not
Yeah, and then yep,
yeah, but I think what's key and you've said this before that it's not and I think we have this in the slide here, but like it's not going in with the intention of getting these clients. It's
yeah.
talk about that. It's like tell
Um,
me a little bit more. It's like the intention
so
versus what you are actually doing on the platform.
so every time you like ask for something from someone without having a sort of rapport from them and trust, like your audience already knows, like you can't just pitch without a you can't like pitch yourself without like context here. It has to
Mm,
be very calculated. So when you're on these platforms, never ever like sell yourself or your services. So when they ask you questions about, "Oh, I'm looking for a wedding photographer," never say, "Oh, well, I could do that for you." Literally just talk and be like, "Well, here's what I would do." Like I would literally give them a million reasons not to go against hiring you, but like make them feel like you're an expert and that will eventually be reciprocated in a way in the future, but you're not even about that. You're just trying to learn how to talk about your industry and the service that you provide to potential prospects who, if they get a lot of value and they happen to be regional. I'm with a lot of people that like I'm in the New York area. There's a lot of people on Clubhouse in the New York area that I'm around. And like a lot of them could hypothetically be prospects. So when I say like on one of the slides I have, it's a trust building tool that 10x is the speed in which someone begins to trust you. So and what I mean by that is
mm,
if you could have a conversation with somebody that and multiple conversations with them, um that's a trust building tool. That's going to build trust faster than like content. Content's a slow, long game, and they need to be like, they say it takes 18 months for an email list to start being profitable, like in terms or start to work.
yep.
Um, Conversations is a lot quicker, but you can't have conversations at scale. Like you're only a human. But when you're in Clubhouse, you're invited on top to a platform where there's a room of relevant people listening to you. It's kind of like speaking at a seminar and being on a panel. There's a room of people listening to you, and you get to have those conversations in front of people at scale as a live in person, like human.
Mhm.
And it's better than a podcast because it is live. They have the opportunity to interact with you live, and that's really really special. So that's why I say it's this ultimate trust building tool because it just really speeds up the trust building process. There's a lot of people that I've talked to that just after spending an hour in one of my rooms or 20 minutes in one of my rooms, like I don't know, they see me as some like I know what I'm talking about for some reason. And that's really special because then they follow me onto LinkedIn and where LinkedIn's my I guess prominent platform that I guess post on. Um they follow and they like and they comment on my posts. So at least in starting Clubhouse, um, I've been getting a lot more engagement on my LinkedIn posts because people just see me as some sort of authority or at least, excuse me, relevant to give a sort of insight or provide some sort of insight and value into their lives, and that's really special. Does that answer that
No,
question?
that's perfect. So it's almost like treat Clubhouse like this top level broadcast system without any calls to action, without any link in my bio, without any of that kind of sales intention. Just purely go out there to be as much as
Yeah,
be as much of an expert as possible, but then on the back end on your homepage, web page, Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever that secondary effective. So when they go shopping for you, when they go shopping around, that's where you have all the calls to action. That's where you have all the content in the portfolio built out, ready for them to
Right.
come get it.
Your presence as the expert on the Clubhouse platform is your role on Clubhouse is literally being the mutual friend that refers two parties like, "Hey, you guys should know each other." But the funny thing
Mhm.
is you're just referring yourself. But the thing is, they you're referring to your Instagram page, which your Instagram page behaves, even though it's you, it behaves as a different entity that has your call to action and stuff like that. Is that making sense?
Yeah.
This is just something I thought about today
No, it's
earlier.
perfect. It's like it's having a
Yep.
conversation at a party, and then they come and visit your store, like, in the physical world. It's like your
Yes.
Instagram is your storefront that
Yes.
people can walk around and browse around and go, "Oh, wow, this is beautiful."
100%. That's fantastic. Yeah, like, "Oh, you should stop by my coffee shop." Exactly like
Yep.
that.
And yep.
And then they do, and they they buy coffee.
Yeah.
Um,
Exactly. Alright, let's take it to lesson number 2, the perfect bio. So that
oh,
there
yeah.
is, like, an entire rabbit hole of Clubhouse bio tutorials, and on
Is there really?
oh, yeah, dude, like, I
So I've never watched one.
well, okay, wow. I I've seen it, and they're
I didn't know this was a thing.
it's
I understand it's important, but I've never watched one. Maybe I'm bad at I'll be bad, but people have told me my bio is great. So,
so it's a l
and it's this format.
yeah, it's a lot different. It's like it's not your typical, you only have 500 characters, you only have 300 characters, you only have, 1 sentence. This is an extensive, like, this isn't, you can go all out on this type of bio, and I've seen these bios, and just it's amazing how, like, a new app just creates this new ecosystem, new language, new way to phrase things, like, it's emojis out the ass in these bios. Tell me, like, your bio strategy or the significance of having a good bio. Yeah, I'll just let you run with that.
Yeah, so a bio is important because it needs to identify who you are and less so if I was talking about a website, I would describe a website as who you are and who you serve,
Mm,
right? But a bio, like on Clubhouse, where it's a social platform, you don't want to be like, you don't want to be too salesy, right? You want to invite the salesiness,
mhm,
but you don't want to be too like, they're not clicking your bio to be sold to the way that if they clicked on your website, they're recognizing that it's a sales tool. So the first three lines of your bio are very important. This is where I would describe your number one thing. So I'm a wedding photographer in the New York City region that specializes in outdoor beach weddings. I don't like I don't I just made up that
yeah,
niche.
sure.
Um, and I would write that in the bio because that is who you are, and that is a little bit like who you serve, but like you're not I don't know, you're not doing some sort of, you're not putting your brand slogan on there,
Okay.
right? It's just a good introductory, "Oh, okay." It's like a dinner conversation intro, right? You're not saying you're like Saul Goodman, the like, you're not saying like, a slogan, like a car dealership slogan. You're it's your dinner party intro. But the reason the first 3 lines are important is when somebody taps on your profile, a preview pops up and the first 3 lines are all they see until they activate your entire
Mm,
profile. So that's why those are very important. You have to catch them kind of like, you have to catch them with like like I'm sure like a portfolio site for photographers is the same way. You have to catch their attention right away and make it stick. After you've done that, you have to create this inviting funnel that encourages them to read more, just like a website, just like your Instagram feed, all that stuff. And the way that you do that, what I see a lot of people doing in their bios now, I don't know what people teach, um but it's just block text after block text after block text, and it's exhausting. We're here to listen with our ears. We're not activating this app to be a blog. So what I've incorporated is a lot of emojis, and I'm not a fan of emojis. I don't really use them in social media posts that much.
Mhm.
But here I love it because I use it before a sentence. So like I'll describe like, oh, I'm a documentary filmmaker, but before the line I'll post
Yeah, you put the video camera emoji.
like a camera emoji or
Yep.
something like that. Right. And I'll put emojis before every sentence, and I make sure the structure of my sentences are really clean. Like I try to make my sentences not go to the second line. I can't do that all the time, but I think for my bio right now,
Yeah, I got it pulled up
a
here.
lot of my sentences are one line.
So
Yeah.
so at Chris G presents. So, or maybe before I read this, like in turn, like I want to, always want to do the compare game. Is it your first three lines? Is that like an Instagram bio, where it's those kind of your first three lines are like
Yes. Yeah.
filmmaker, storyteller, documentarian, uh, and then some kind of fancy quote, and then like whatever product you're selling at the time.
Hmm. You know what? I would actually compare it. I don't want to say a LinkedIn tagline because a LinkedIn tagline's a little more salesy than this needs to be. Though you know what? There have been times where I have used my LinkedIn tagline on here and vice versa. So, like, you want to make it all about you. You don't want to put an inspirational quote in the first 3 lines.
Yep.
Is what I'm my point with that. Um, but the second tier, after that first dinner table discussion on who you are, that those first 3 lines, you really want it to be a sort of I would go right into your work, like, wedding photographer,
The
I don't know what
the
else to
ER words.
put
The
put in that
I'm a
ecosystem.
filmmaker, content creator, marketer, all your kind of jobs and hobbies, I guess. Just so that
You know what? I would separate the jobs and hobbies actually. So,
oh.
like, if, like, a wedding the reason I would is because then you may not be seen as a specialist.
Mm,
You know what I mean? Because if I put up you see in my bio, if you pull up if I had documentary filmmaker next to, like, the brand strategy stuff, it would make me seem a little bit more, um, of a generalist, but I have documentary filmmaker down by my hobbies. So, I separated the segments of where workplace stuff is above,
yep,
and then I go, um to my hobbies. Now, hobbies are important. So I would the top third, I would make all about your work, but make it concise. Don't make it fleshed out. Just make it really crisp and clean looking.
yeah,
This display is everything, and don't go overboard.
yep. It's very
The second
this is like
thing I would do is go right.
no go yeah
Uh-huh.
go ahead. Sorry.
Um, the second thing I would do is go right into your hobbies. The reason that this is so important on this platform and may not be on your business Instagram or LinkedIn account is because what I said earlier, we're not here to sell. So the odds are when somebody's going to comment on your profile, they're going to comment on one of your hobbies. So make sure you have some like nice, rich, juicy hobbies even if you have to like, I don't know. I think I'm pretty honest with all my hobbies. I do like hiking. I do like cooking. All this stuff. So if you have some cool like hobbies like volunteering at an animal shelter or you're into sustainability or minimalism, something like that, write it in there and people are going to comment it on and connect with you as a human.
Yep.
That's like literally the most important part of your bio really because it shows that you're oh okay you're not just here to be a sales machine like the stereotype of everyone that comes in that's a life coach on LinkedIn or on Clubhouse. um there's so you have to flesh out your hobbies. Now the third section I would call that like a social proof section. um it's like it's this weird thing that's acceptable on Clubhouse where it's kind of like a resume, really, and you'll notice this in many profiles. For me, it's a lot of like I have a lot of background in influencer marketing and working with different YouTube channels, and I wrote some bullet points and milestones of my work with those YouTubers. Um, and other people have been like, "Oh, work for this company." They literally write out like a little blurb that they would literally include on a resume, and I think that's okay too. You don't have to do that. That's the least important. Like maybe if you're a photographer and you're featured in a magazine or a publication, something cool that I haven't had the luxury of participating in, I would add that. And I would call that your social proof section.
Okay.
Like, what have you done with other people?
Yeah, you could put
Yeah.
like advertising awards. You could put, I don't know if you ever won an Emmy, or if you're like, oddly there's a lot of people that have won Emmys that aren't that big, that popular. Um, but
Those are daytime Emmy
yeah,
awards.
yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, I've met a lot of those people too, and I didn't get it until I got it. When I was in film school, there was everyone got into the
yeah, there
Cannes
you go.
Film
Yeah, yeah.
Festival.
I'm a con
But
film.
it's the short but it's the short film circle, which it's just pay to access. It's like a bunch of TVs in a gallery on a wall constantly
Oh
looping
my god.
short films from around the world.
it's
When I was a
it's
freshman, it was a big deal. Whoa, this senior, got into Cannes, but
no.
but really, it's you pay $80 and you go there. And
Yeah, so at the bottom of your
so
Clubhouse
yeah,
bio, you put all those awards that you paid for. Yeah, you put in there. Could you also put
yeah, 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 yeah.
could you put like testimonials, or is that a little too text heavy, or
Ooh,
like a quote,
why
like a
not?
quote,
That's great. Why not?
like a quote from a client, and then use like their at username, maybe? Because
Sure.
that's the other question too.
I would. I that.
Can you do like URLs and website links in the bio? Can you do that?
You could write them, but they don't turn blue. So no.
Okay, that's good to know.
Um. Yeah, it stinks, but that's how it is right now. The quotes is a great idea. I would Why not try it?
Yeah.
I've never seen anyone do it, and I think that's a great idea. I would try to keep the testimonials on a shorter side. Um, unless of course it's somebody extremely reputable, like that everyone would kind of know. Like maybe I don't know,
Yeah, you gotta get yeah,
maybe Gary V tweeted you or something.
exactly. Yeah, some kind of pull quote. Also with your bio, the other important thing, what we talked about at the top of the show, is searchability. If I'm searching for filmmakers, or I'm searching for the wedding photographer chat room club, uh, also users start to show up as well in those results, and it's because they have the search term in their bio. Is that correct?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think, yeah, your bio is important. Here's the thing. The algorithm isn't that advanced yet, so I can't confirm how important that is. I've known some people to sneak certain cool things into their name, like video marketing is they're at video marketing,
Yep.
right?
I've seen that.
And it's like, that's cool.
Yeah, I've seen that same. You can do that hack on like
Because it's such an
Instagram.
early thing.
Yeah, with
Right. Well, it's different because their at is their name. Your name actually on Clubhouse has to be your legal name, but
oh, okay.
your at could be at video marketing because it's such a new platform that, like, there's what 6 million users on it.
Yeah.
That at least when those people joined, let's say back in October or August, like they were able to get like at video producer. Like it's kind of like Web 1.0 when people were snatching up URLs. Um,
So
but
there's probably a
but yeah.
little bit of keyword stuffing that you could do, but probably don't do the just like keyword comma keyword comma keyword comma. Do like make it in the Clubhouse format a little bit, but you could probably do a little stuffing if you wanted to.
Yep. Yeah. I don't know how reliant it is, but on keywords in that search, I don't think it's that advanced yet. Really, the UX is pretty poor on this platform.
Yep.
Um,
But that could also be the benefit too. Like it's so bad that it's not really about the text or the bio, but it's just about going up and talking, being in those chat rooms.
it's very raw,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, that's all it is right now, which is why it sets itself up for failure when Facebook and Twitter come out with something that is a beautiful UX, user experience, and even though it might not have that same rawness, it might have more mass appeal because at least the early adopters on Clubhouse can tolerate it, but
Hmm.
can the mass audience, like, can the masses in the world tolerate it? I don't know.
Exactly. All right, so we're probably dancing around this a little bit. Let's move to lesson three. The biggest mistake. What is the biggest mistake? And we've already talked about it a
You know
little bit,
what? We've talked about it.
but
Spoiler alert, it's
spoiler,
pitching.
pitching. So I'm on there. I raise my hand. I'm in a chat room. The mod calls my name. Hey Jordan, would you come up to the front, say a few words. Uh, don't you? We've always said, obviously said, don't pitch, don't sell your services. But maybe we'll back it up and say, like, what are some conversational tips that you've seen that works, or how do you keep the conversation going? Because I feel like if you are pitching, there's this kind of, it's a dead end. You just say who you are, what you do, and then it stops, and then there's that whole room silence, and no one really knows what to pick up after that. What if I'm not pitching and I'm not selling my services, what am I doing? How am I kind of keeping the conversation going and also looking good? That's what we want to do too.
I feel that's where lesson 4 is.
All right,
Where building a network, having those
let's
conversations.
move on. Let's swing on to it.
The f- yeah, the first thing I would do is come up with a really good question. And here's the psychology of it. If you're a really good question asker, that is much more appealing than giving advice to at least the hosts. And when you could win over the hosts to trust you and keep you up on that panel, then you could give all the advice and steal the room.
Mm,
So when you come up and you start with a question, okay, when you come up and you start with advice, you could nail that advice. You really could. But um, it won't, like, the respect you'll get if you ask a really in-depth, thoughtful question that makes them interpret that you know what you're kind of talking about because you asked a really good educated question. Um, then they're gonna respect you more because you, like, make them feel special. Like, like, here's points, he sees me as an authority.
mhm.
And this is just a weird little psychological hack right there. And then after that, when other people come up, you could start adding your input whenever is appropriate. You don't want to overstep the host's microphone. I've seen that happen before, and it gets annoying. I haven't experienced that too much. I think etiquette on the platform's gotten a lot better. But when you start by asking really good questions that spawn a conversation, and a good host is going to want to dig in further. Like, what made you ask that? What inspired you to say that? Like, how does this apply to you? What are you going through right now? That sort of thing. And then when they ask you to give backstory about yourself, that
Yeah.
put down everything I said earlier about not pitching and just start talking about yourself because the invite was granted, right? And
Yep.
this is, I guess, just social skills 101. So, like, I'm saying nothing profound here, but then you earn the respect of people in your room because then when they give you permission to speak by asking you to speak about yourself, they feel like they're on your team now. And instead of them, like, waiting for you to be finished talking, they're out there listening
Yeah. So you're
actively.
So it's, I mean, do you even ask a question that you might already know the answer to, but you just kind of want to put that, or maybe
Hmm.
you're asking the question for somebody else?
I You could, if you're like, I don't want to say if you're a good liar, but, like, if you're a good, I don't know, if you're setting them up for success,
Yes.
right?
Oh,
If you're
yeah.
giving them a tone, like, if you're, you know what I mean? Like, instead of, like, I don't know, I could imagine somebody thinking they're smart going up and asking some sort of question and trying to make them like, feel dumb. I've never actually witnessed that.
Hmm.
Perhaps I have, but I don't know. But if you like, give them like an underhand throw to hit a home run, an underhand pitch to hit a home run with, they're gonna appreciate that for sure.
Okay. Yeah, maybe that's what I'm getting at. Like it's not the
Mhm.
simplest question like, "Hey guys, what should I get Canon or Sony?" It's more, like yeah, like
Right.
a good intention, "Hey, what do you guys think about this?" or maybe a question that doesn't have an official answer. Maybe kind of a
Right, I saw there was, like, a new, like, 50 millimeter G Master 1.2 that came out, and I like, maybe it's just like, "Hey, I have the 1.4, what's the 1.2 getting me?"
yep.
You might know that answer already, but, like, at least that's more like,
Yeah,
I don't
you're
know,
adding
that allows them.
I think you're
Yeah.
adding something to the conversation. Now there I think what and I'll talk personally, what can get annoying sometimes is I mean, the pitching, that's, pitching and selling, that's obvious. But what about the unsolicited advice on Clubhouse? Or is there such a thing on Clubhouse as unsolicited advice? Like just kind of like somebody just starts talking at you, bro, you need to do this. Bro, I saw you need to do this. Set up this, get this. You need to have this account and do this tactic and it's like, dude, I didn't ask for that. Like I don't even like I know like how do you is unsolicited advice just kind of part of is it kind of baked in to Clubhouse or do you just redirect it a little
Um,
bit?
yeah, it depends, like, that's all personality,
Okay.
from the other person. It's like those people are gonna be the same people in real life doing that. So how would you handle that in real life? Like, probably just remove yourself from the conversation.
Yeah. You just
I don't think yeah, I would just be like, "Cool, man, thanks." Honestly, like,
mhm.
if you're having a sales call with a bride and they're just going off and off with all this detail that you just don't need to know, you don't cut them off. You just let them exhaust themselves. And maybe it takes a higher human to do that in order to, like, in a situation where you might be talked down to. But like at the end of the day, you know none of these people. It doesn't matter. Just whatever. Just bite your tongue and like I don't know, just be like, "Okay, thanks, man, I appreciate it," and send yourself back down into the audience or leave the room.
Okay. I figure just kinda like yeah, I'm like, what would I do in real life at the when someone just starts telling you about how great their work is or how awesome and you're like, "Okay, yeah, man. Yeah." You just smile and nod and you're like, "Yeah, dude, that's"
I would try to change the
okay.
topic if you could, but, like, maybe there's just a certain, like maybe you're caught off guard and you just don't have that wit in the moment, like, maybe that's, like, a shower thought later,
Mhm.
that doesn't come to you in the moment, but yeah, I would just try to change the topic or ask, "Oh, so and so, what do you think?" That might be a good alternative, but that doesn't happen too much. But when you do meet like good people, I would recommend like not forgetting about like it's so easy to forget about people on Clubhouse. So what I would do is like add them on Instagram through their profile or add them through like LinkedIn. What I do because I spend all my time on LinkedIn on in terms of like my social network time, I add them on LinkedIn right away because that's just where my prospects are, where my community lies.
Mhm.
Um, but if you're an Instagram photographer, maybe if you just don't want to be that person to follow a bunch of random accounts, at least I don't know what I would do. I would just DM them and be like, "Hey, thanks for being part of the room."
Yeah,
Yeah,
kinda
I don't know what
yeah,
social etiquette.
yeah, kinda drive it home or just, yeah, yeah, it's like sending a little thank you note. It doesn't take a lot of
Yeah,
effort. It's a nice little it could lead to something, but, do that yeah. See them, "Hey, man, cool," and then go on their bio real quick and just, yeah, comment something, DM them, even though it might just not lead to anything, but just the small stuff.
right.
Small little token.
So if you're not hosting your own room and you're in a slightly larger room where there's people in there that you want their attention, there's a little life hack you could do.
Mhm.
You could screenshot that room, put it on your Instagram story or your LinkedIn feed or Facebook or Twitter or whatever. I guess Instagram story in this case with photographers, tag them and just jot a little complimentary note of something that you
Yeah.
took away from that room. Hey, this person hosted this room about this subject. I really like this point about this thing. And that will just get I don't know what it will get, but like if you see them around Clubhouse a few times and you kind of like engage with them, they might remember you next time, or at least the third time you do it, they'll remember you. It's just a little thing where people like being recognized, and it's kind of it's just a little tip of the hat to them.
Yeah, it gives them a little clout, like they feel like they're in the cool kids club, for sure. Okay, the last two things I wanted to ask you were about. Let's start with this one. So now I've gotten pretty comfortable on Clubhouse. I've been in a couple rooms. I've been a guest. I've stepped up, I raised my hand, said a couple things. Um, what about when do I start hosting, or what's my strategy with hosting a room, inviting people, being a moderator versus being an active host? What how does that break down?
Ooh, good question. I would host a room right away. There's like literally no pressure. I would just try to understand the fundamentals of the app first. So literally 10 minutes in, you'll get it down and maybe participate in a few other rooms. I think it's nice to feel like you're part of the community and for the community to feel like you're part of it. Um it's kind of like it's kind of like if you're in a Facebook group, you could make your own posts. Absolutely, that's welcome. But it's also really cool to comment on other people's posts. And the analogy for commenting on other people's posts is participating in their rooms. And if you could do that, it just builds this sort of like mutual respect where I see people all the time and they're always in rooms or hosting a room, and I pop in, I'll say hi, and it's weird. It's like I don't know why the same 15 people I see over and over again, but I guess that's just like how it works. So once you get the hang of it, you could host their own room and make it a relevant topic that somebody is going to want to click on. Really speak to somebody. So like the rooms that I've had most success in, like we could break down a title, it would be like content marketing for small businesses,
Mm,
like ethical content marketing for small businesses, things like that, things that are like intriguing, relatively specific, because for small businesses somebody could look at that and be like, oh, that's me. um and they could click on it. If it was just best content marketing practices. I haven't tried that. Maybe that works better, but in my mind, it is less specific. And that title, best marketing practices, it just sounds slightly more preachy, as in, this sounds like more of a presentation
okay.
because because it's you as the host saying best and practices as if like, oh, okay, I have something to teach. But yeah, go
Okay,
ahead.
yeah, that's what I was gonna ask, like, how do you structure it? Do you just make it like anybody can come in? I'm talking, "Hey, if you have something to say about content marketing, come on in and say something," or do you set it up like a Q&A, like, position yourself as, "I'm the expert, come on in, get your questions answered by me, and you can leave or stick around?" Or do you make it an open conversation like the name of the chat room is a question, like, "What is the best content marketing strategy?" What are those out of those 3, how do you kinda set it up or structure the environment that you build?
I think the coolest way is to do like a Q and A, and make it conversational. Like I would say set it up kind of like the Dave Ramsey show or something like that, but then also make it conversational where people could just like riff for several minutes at a time with you. And especially in the beginning when you have like empty rooms, like that's it's crucial. It's like the only thing you could do.
Yeah, like the
But the two ways to I guess, publish a room is to either make it a generic public room that anyone can join,
Mhm.
or you could host a room inside of a club that you're a member of, and anyone in that club will get a notification, not directly to their phone, perhaps. Maybe I don't know. I have notifications off, but in the notifications tab of the app, they'll be able to see, and it will also appear on the feed if they're a member of that club. I always do that. I always go that route first because if you have no followers, nobody's gonna see that you're live. You're kinda just gonna be shouting into the void and hope it like it's kind of I don't I don't know how the algorithm works, so, like, getting an audience that way is difficult.
Mm.
But also, if you start a room in a club, it limits your audience to the 7,000 people in that club, which is which sucks, but,
Oh, I
like,
see.
when you're so small, like, that's what you probably have to do.
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
could be more concentrated, more relevant. Like, I don't wanna broadcast to everybody, I just wanna broadcast to my other wedding photographer friends, I guess.
Right. Right, absolutely.
And then the last question I have, it kinda ties into the hosting aspect. I wanted to ask you about professionally recording this or, um, maybe you don't have to talk about the legalities of it or the policy, but, like, if I how do I take this content out of Clubhouse or the other thing I was thinking about, what if, like, the same thing we're doing right now, like this kind of two-person podcast style, can you do that on Clubhouse and just record it and then make it into a published podcast episode?
Yeah, you could do that. So basically, it's against their policy to record Clubhouse things. I think it's for the privacy of users on the platform. But what people have done to get around, actually, okay, the rule is you can't record Clubhouse calls unless everyone understands that it's a recorded call. And the way people get around that is by in the title they do parentheses REC with a red dot.
Oh, okay.
And so you'll see that, and that means it's being recorded, and I've only seen that when the Future's done it. Um, I haven't seen that anywhere else, but they record all their stuff and spit that onto YouTube, which is great. Great idea for them
And
because it's dual
and
purpose.
then for getting s and now this is, like, in the weeds, like, when you set up that kinda room, you probably wanna be pretty tight with who can speak, who's allowed to speak, pot like that kinda like how much control does your audience have versus the moderators have, right?
If you want, like, you don't have to change anything because, like, it's like you're perhaps not live streaming to YouTube. You're just clipping segments. If you have a 2-hour room, you're just clipping the best segments from that. If there's some golden nuggets that could be spun into content,
Okay, sweet. Uh, Chris, what what
right?
what did we miss? What have we not covered? I feel like we've done this is the wide gamut that we've thrown.
Um, well, I think just to, I guess, summarize, really, you
Yeah.
want to make sure that if you have an engaging conversation, to connect with the person on a different platform because you're just gonna and sometimes it's okay. It's like in real life, if you're like in a bar and you have a cool conversation with somebody and then you never see them again, that's cool. Like, but if it's somebody of actual interest that you could form a sort of relationship with in some sort of capacity, I would make it an effort to DM them on Instagram or LinkedIn or any platform really that isn't Clubhouse and just engage with them because Eh, it's a great Clubhouse is a great social platform, but with keeping up with what your friends are doing, it's that is non-existent. And like I said, I've built small communities on Clubhouse where like I know a lot of people and they follow me and they do join my rooms, which is great. But there's no way for me, like I don't have like their emails per se where I could like just send out a blast. Okay, tomorrow Clubhouse 2 p.m., which would be great. There's nothing like that.
Mhm,
That's what I would say.
gotcha. All right, Chris, where do we find you? Where do we find your work? Where do we find you on Clubhouse? Are you giving out invites? Am I giving out invites on this video? Where do we find yeah, we'll start with that.
I don't know if I have any.
Where do we
The
find
way
where do we find your work?
Well, you could find me on Clubhouse at Chris G Presents, and that's also my profile for every social media. If you have any questions, you could DM me anywhere. If you do like linkedin.com/users/Chris G Presents, that's however you find users. You could find me that way too if you want to connect on LinkedIn. Instagram's cool too. And Clubhouse, yeah, I like hosting Clubhouse rooms. At this point, I've reeled it back a little bit. I should do more, but I do about once a week.
Okay.
I do a few hours a week.
I've heard some people that do like 30 hours a week on the platform, like basically a
Yeah,
part-time
I
job.
used to think I could do that, but at the end of the day, I had other work to do.
Yep.
So,
Cool. Well, Chris, thanks for being on the show, man. This has been like super enlightening and super helpful, like kind of navigating Clubhouse.
yeah, I appreciate being here. This was a lot of fun.
All right, I'm gonna switch it over. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for watching the channel. Be sure to subscribe here on YouTube. And my name is Jordan Anderson. I will see you on the next one.